All right. Here's a part 2 over at Miners Beach. Be sure to watch my part 1 first before you watch this one. But going off of my last video, I was talking a little bit about the Mid-Continental Rift, which is essentially a divergent boundary, which I explained in my last video. Even though now that particular rift is no longer active, it's basically dormant. Who knows? There could perhaps be one day an event that could set it off again. But the Mid-Continental Rift basically starts up around Lake Superior, and it actually goes as far south as Kansas. And you figure the Mid-Continental Rift, according to geologists, was responsible for the creation of North America. Apparently, right where we are is part of the core of how our continent came to existence as a landmass. And you figure, too, this lava that flowed out, it cooled rather quickly. And thus, if there were any bubbles in the lava, they got trapped. And as a result, it created these pockets in the bedrock. And you figure, once new land was created, and there would sometimes be basins, some of that water that already was existing has to go somewhere. As a result, it created Lake Superior. And because of that geologic history that I just mentioned, you can find a very diverse array of rocks in Lake Superior. And one of the most well-known types of rocks that I just mentioned, forming from the bubbles and the silica that's dissolved in the water, agates. Of course, agates are a form of rock that have rings in them. And they usually have different minerals of iron, magnesium, sandstone, quartz. So essentially what happened is, in these bubbles, they were slowly but surely solidifying because of the water evaporating. And thus, it created agates. And oftentimes, they're also rich in copper. And that is why copper mining was such a huge industry up here, especially in the Keweenaw Peninsula. That is a bit further to the east from here. Or, pardon me, not the east, the west. But I'm just in awe. And just with how clear the water is, you figure, even with how big Lake Superior is, and including the other Great Lakes, on a global scale, when it comes to our water, only 2% of it is freshwater. But the thing is, with Lake Superior being so large, it's oftentimes compared to an ocean, because it's actually capable of creating its own little microclimate in terms of rain or the lake effect with snow. This is literally like its own little ocean, but yet it's still a lake. And it has fresh water, no salt water whatsoever. Now, a common question that may come to mind really is, what's the difference between a lake and a pond? Well, lakes are oftentimes larger. They usually have clearer water, and it's typically colder. And I think I said it already, lakes are usually deeper. And whereas ponds, on the other hand, are much smaller. They usually have a lot more nutrients in them, so they're more prone to having algae, and they're a lot shallower. So there you go. Those are a couple of differences between the two of them. And that's the reason why Lake Superior is so clear. There's very little nutrients, because typically this water may only average around 50 or so degrees Fahrenheit. That's about it. It's chilly. It does not get really warm. So that's why it's so clear. A term that's oftentimes used for that is oligotrophic. So, all right, I figure that's a good point to wrap up the video. I think really, as a wrap-up point, why we should care about these lakes is the fact that it is a major supply for our water, especially throughout the United States. And of course, water is what we need most of all, even more than food. So, all right, you guys, take care. Enjoy your Friday. The journey on our journey is onwards. Take care, folks. See ya.